Thank you for joining us on This Is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, on the show tonight, we're coming to you with three big stories. Exclusive inputs on, first up, the story from Pakistan, the visuals of Pakistan bombing Pakistanis. Pakistan bombing Pakistanis, 30 women and children have been killed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. We have some exclusive details coming up on the show this evening. First up, the headlines. "30 women and children killed in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region as Pakistan uses Chinese jets, Chinese missiles to bomb its own people." The wife of the masked man speaking out on Republic Kannada for the first time on the show. We reveal how he was used as a pawn by activists to target a temple. The Khyber family in Pune, in Mumbai, Maharashtra. The search is on for Pooja Ketkar and her family, her father, her mother, as they mock the entire system after fraud, after waving guns and after kidnapping charge. The system lets them escape. India's core sector showing promising growth, 8 core industries contributing significantly, positive sign for the economy. On top of 7 p.m., we come to you with pictures from Pakistan. The terror state is targeting its own people. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region in Pakistan has witnessed a series of deadly air and drone strikes that have killed 30 citizens in the last 12 to 24 hours. Many of them are children. The latest attack by Pakistan forces on its own people has sparked widespread anger. These are exclusive pictures that came into our newsroom some time back of the protests that have broken out. Reports have confirmed that Pakistani Airforce jets dropped at least 8 bombs on a village in the Tira Valley in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. These are heartbreaking images that show children lying lifeless on beds, while adult victims being covered with blankets and bed sheets in some of the most backward regions of Pakistan. And these are exclusive pictures that came in, ladies and gentlemen, of the protests that continue in Pakistan this evening. Meetings that have been held, public meetings asking for an uprising, asking for more protests against the Pakistan armed forces. And to talk about what's happening here, we have Mr. Brahma Chalani. Brahma Chalani is a strategic affairs expert. Mr. Chalani, good evening. First up, it's not the first time that Pakistan has targeted its own people in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. There has been, a series of governments have come and gone, and there has been an attempt to fight terrorists, their own terrorists in this particular region. But in the context of what's going on between the civilian, the army establishment in Pakistan, how do you see this latest attack play a role in perhaps changing the dynamics on the ground, Mr. Chalani?
The massacre of so many civilians, that too by dropping sophisticated bombs from Chinese-supplied warplanes, indicates the contempt with which the Pakistan military treats non-Punjabis. Across Pakistan, there is significant unrest and separatist movements in the non-Punjab areas of Pakistan. It indicates the alienation of non-Punjabi Muslims from the Pakistani state. And the Pakistani state has long employed war and terrorism as instruments of policy, not just against India, against its own people. The non-Punjabis in Pakistan have borne the brunt of this approach of the Pakistan military. It's incredible that the Pakistan military would bomb its own people in the name of combating terrorism. The way it has recklessly bombed and killed so many civilians calls for an international investigation, because this really is against all norms of civilized conduct. They violate the very principles on which the UN is founded, that states should not engage in acts that actually underscore how they are treating their own citizens in manner as if they are not human beings.
Yeah. And if you can tell us the significance of the timing of all of this. I mean, at a time when there also, there is one part of Pakistan that is trying to talk to Afghanistan and Kabul, engage them. There is another side of Pakistan which is trying to keep America happy and engage Afghanistan in some way militarily. Now we hear that there is an attempt to blame Kabul for the Tehrik-e-Taliban attacks that are happening as well. Do you see the dynamic shift perhaps between Afghanistan, Pakistan in the next, near future, in the next few days?
The problem is this, that American interests and Chinese interests converge in Pakistan. So that allows Pakistan to cozy up to the US as well as to China. And that also explains why the Trump administration today is targeting the Indian-operated Chabahar port in Iran, but turning a blind eye to the Chinese-run Gwadar port. This is because US-Chinese interests converge in Pakistan. In that larger context, we should not forget that Trump, in his own words, is now exerting pressure on the Taliban and Afghanistan to cede control of the Bagram air base to the US. If the Taliban are pressured into ceding Bagram to the US, that will further elevate the terrorism threat in the region, but also it will reinforce the US-Pakistan relationship. So the developments that we are seeing, where the US, China, plus countries like Turkey and now Saudi Arabia are helping prop up the Pakistani state, that in turn allows Pakistan to do what we have just seen, including massacring its own citizens. And I'm bothered about how this will destabilize the region, whether it's Pakistan itself and Afghanistan, and not to forget the direct impact on India. They're more interested in playing these geopolitical games, using Pakistan as a pawn. And all this gives a carte blanche to the Pakistan military, especially its all-powerful army chief, who thinks and actually acts as the de facto ruler of Pakistan.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mr. Chalani, for joining us on the show this evening. Leaving it at that now, and let's move on to the next big story on the show this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the sensational Dharmastala mass burial case has now collapsed completely under its own weight, because the so-called masked man, who's propped up by activists, has been unmasked. We were the first to report that the star witness himself was compromised. Today we have a big exclusive on the show. The wife of the masked man has spoken to Republic. First up, here's how the story is unfolded, and we go straight to that interview.
Republic Kannada has been at the forefront of unmasking the biggest conspiracy against Hindus. The story began in July this year when an anonymous masked man claimed he had buried hundreds of bodies of girls and women killed in Dharmastala temple. He described chilling details of sexual assault and forgotten corpses, allegations that shook the nation and maligned the sanctity of this centuries-old spiritual center. Republic refused to buy into the cliché. We stepped away from the narrative being manufactured and investigated the man behind the mask. We were the first to question who the masked man was, probing inconsistencies in his story, asking why his claims surfaced years after the alleged crimes, and who stood to gain by demonizing the temple. The so-called masked man was not a whistleblower, but C.N. Chinnaya, a man who admitted to a larger conspiracy at play. The first big reveal was that the face behind the mask was compromised, and he stood vindicated. We first uncovered the background most never revealed. The so-called masked man had stayed inside Satyamangalam forest in a camp once run by the LTTE in Tamil Nadu. Not only this, he hosted a missionary called Goswami, known for conversion activities at his residence, shedding more light on who was linked to him.
They fought each other. For what reasons, I don't know. But each of them have given complaints. Complaints have been taken and registered, and further inquiries will be done. Whatever has happened, it is under control. Absolutely nothing to worry about. But we will not, this entire SIT investigation will not be hampered because of this reason. We will definitely take it more seriously, and we will take everything under control and continue the investigation.
Political reactions have been sharp. The BJP has called it a deliberate attempt to malign the temple. Hereditary administrator of the Dharmastala temple, Dharmadhikari himself has spoken.
The efforts made over the last couple of months by an entire ecosystem was to defame, destabilize the faith that millions hold towards holy Dharmasthala. A large conspiracy which involves actors not just inside the country but even certain forces outside has come together to orchestrate this entire conspiracy.
And Republic Kannada has nailed another lie, another false witness spinning fiction for the conspiracy. This is Sujata Bhatt. Not long ago, she claimed that her daughter, an MBBS student named Ananya Bhatt, had gone missing from the temple, fueling the so-called mass burial case. Her allegations helped build the narrative of horror against the shrine. Republic Kannada confronted her. Sujata admitted she never had a daughter by that name. On camera, in her own words, she accepted that Ananya Bhatt never existed.
ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಮಗಳಲ್ಲ.
ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳಲ್ಲ.
ಮಗಳಲ್ಲ.
ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಮಗಳಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಸುಜಾತ ಭಟ್ ಅವರು ರಿಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಸ್ಟುಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಮ್ಮ, ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳಲ್ವಾ?
ನನ್ನ ಮಗಳಲ್ಲ.
ಮತ್ತು ಯಾರ ಮಗಳು ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್?
ಅರವಿಂದ್ ವಿಮಲಾ ಭಟ್ ಅವರ ಮಗಳು ಅನನ್ಯ ಭಟ್.
That one admission destroys weeks of manufactured lies. Here it was, planted testimonies, fabricated victims, and an attempt to drag Dharmastala into shame. A gang of YouTubers and other conspirators got together to bring down what they call the 2,000 crore Dharmastala empire. And look at the intent. This was not about justice. This was about defaming a Hindu place of worship, while others and YouTubers fanned sensational claims. Republic stayed firm. We asked the uncomfortable questions. We tested witness credibility. We broke the story when others swallowed it blind.
Okay, so that was the background, that was the story so far, but here's the exclusive conversation with Republic Kannada's editor, Shobha. This is Chinnaya's wife, the masked man's wife, claiming that her husband was set up by a few activists. It's a big Republic Kannada expose on the Dharmastala hoax.
ಗಂಡಸು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಚಿನ್ನಯ್ಯ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕೊಲೆಗಳು
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇವರೇ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕಿರೋದು ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಯಾರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು?
ಗ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಟ್ಟಣ್ಣ, ತಿಮ್ಮಾರೆಡ್ಡಿ, ಈ ವಿಠ್ಠಲ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಸಜ್ಜಿ ಏನ್ ನಡೀತದಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಇವ್ರನ್ನ 1-2 ತಿಂಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರೇ ಲಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಡಗಿದ್ರಂತ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ನಿಮ್ಮನೆಯವರನ್ನ?
ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಗಂಡಸು.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಚಿನ್ನಯ್ಯ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕೊಲೆಗಳು
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇವರೇ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕಿರೋದು ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಯಾರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು?
ಗ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಟ್ಟಣ್ಣ, ತಿಮ್ಮಾರೆಡ್ಡಿ, ಈ ವಿಠ್ಠಲ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಸಜ್ಜಿ ಏನ್ ನಡೀತದಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಇವ್ರನ್ನ 1-2 ತಿಂಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರೇ ಲಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಡಗಿದ್ರಂತ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ನಿಮ್ಮನೆಯವರನ್ನ?
ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯವ್ರನ್ನ.
That's a big expose. She claims that her husband was locked up for 2 months by these people, indicating that perhaps he was coached, trained by these activists, further confirming the conspiracy. Smita.
Exactly, Niranjan, Republic Kannada's one more exclusive investigative interview, which is at present going on here in Republic Kannada. A big, expose regarding this anti-Dharmastala conspiracy. Niranjan, this interview is like a climax for month-old Dharmastala conspiracy drama in which Republic Kannada had, step by step exposed the scriptwriters, the actors, the directors, and only the producers who have funded this conspiracy have to be exposed. Probably the final showdown will be very shortly in front of the people of Karnataka, in fact in front of people of the entire world by the SIT final verdict. But before that, this interview, which I said that the climax of this entire conspiracy theory against Dharmasthala, Chinnaya's wife Malika speaks exclusively with Republic Kannada, where she openly says that Chinnaya, that is the masked man, was locked up, was beaten up, and entire, the proof, whatever he said, and the areas which he marked in front of the SIT to be dug, entire script was written by these, so-called protesters, anti-Dharmasthala conspirators, Mahesh Shetty Timurodi and Girish Mattananavar, and one more person, Vittal Rao. She has openly confessed that Chinnaya just acted there according to the, instructions of these 3 persons. When he failed to do so, he was locked up, beaten, and his phone was snatched. As I say repeatedly, this is the climax of the entire anti-Dharmasthala conspiracy theory.
Thank you for joining us with those inputs. Smita, with those details. Shobha, the Republic Kannada editor, has done a long interview which is also being aired on Republic Kannada as we speak. That's it on this edition of the news on This Is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Catch the debate at 9 p.m. with Arnab. Stay tuned.